Welcome to Quantum Possibilities. We're grateful for your presence as we seek to create wholeness for ourselves and our fractured world. I'm Penelope Case.
I'm Hope O'Brien.
And I'm Donnie O'Brien.
So, how are you guys? What's up?
So I am all over the place right now.
Hmm.
Um,
You want to talk about that?
2 weeks ago, I was thrown from a horse,
Was
and
this up in New England?
no, it was after I got back. My time in New England was fabulous, really, really successful. Um, I I got back from that on Wednesday, and I went anyway. The first day I went back to work was a Monday, and I was working with a young Tennessee Walker gelding on the trail, and he's had some pretty traumatic training traumas, and trail riding is so good for a horse mentally. And the ride was going well. We were headed back to the barn, and a wild turkey flew up in his face.
Oh,
And I mean, I knew it was a mother, excuse me, protecting her young. Anyway, his hindquarters went down. That's what Tennessee walkers are like. They just dip their hindquarters down, and he turned one way and I went the other. And in the process of going up in the air and coming back down, my left leg hit the pommel of the western saddle,
uh-huh.
and I'm pretty sure, a fracture of my tibia.
Oh,
So um, it's it's been interesting, to say the least. I'm feeling a bit like I'm weary of it, because I mean it happens. It's I'm just
yeah.
grieving because I messaged the woman who owns the horse, and basically said, I'm done. I can't. I'm not going to be able to ride for another 6 weeks, and I know you have an agenda with your animals, and so yeah, you need to find somebody else, basically. And so I'm grieving that.
The loss of the job.
The horses, leaving the horses.
Uh-huh.
I love those horses.
Are
And
these the ones you were working with in the barn that had also the mule?
yes, correct.
Okay.
So the mule has been rehomed. You
You
the
made him such a good guy. He was desirable.
well, I want to believe I had a positive influence on him in that regard. Um, but the other six horses, I'm sad to leave them. There's a lot of good that I wanted to do with and for them.
Mhm.
It's tumultuous in my heart and in my mind, because Bo and Lily and the other people that love me and know what this woman is like have begged me to leave because
Yeah,
she's abusive.
it is not worth it.
Ah,
She is, ugh, she's so abusive, and
to you?
to
To
me, yes.
To everyone that works for her, which
Yeah.
is a lot of people.
I can only speak from my experience, and it's been a journey. On one hand, I have to express my gratitude for her coming into my life, because in getting honest with how she has treated me, and I'm not saying that from a victim, she's treated me poorly. It's not what I'm saying. It, I feel the universe has afforded me a powerful opportunity to be able to identify abuse in my life, what abuse actually looks like. Because I was sexually abused as a child, and at the same time, there was a lot of verbal abuse in our home. Everybody yelled. Everybody yelled, and I'm not. It's not a blanket statement to say everybody yelled. There was a lot of yelling, and what I'm learning what verbal abuse or what any kind of abuse does to a child's psyche. And I'll never forget the moment that the subconscious programming shifted to a conscious thought when I realized I was staying in relationship with this woman who owns the horses with a hope that if I behave well enough, she won't get mad at me and everything will be okay. If I'm good, if I'm a good girl, then nobody will get upset and I can take care of these horses. I can rescue these horses. And you can hear the twisted dynamics in that. It's deeply unhealthy. And when in studying NVC, we're taught not to label, judge, or diagnose. And it's necessary, it's very necessary in order to see that the sum totality of a person, you don't wrap it up in one visit or one conversation. There's so much more to to the dynamics of being human. Um, However, with this person, with this woman, it was over and over and over again.
Mhm.
And from a precious NVC person, she was able to say, I know what we're taught, but you have to understand it's important to delineate the energy of what's happening in your life. She is abusive, and you are staying in this relationship to meet needs that you need to look at. And so anyway, you might have to edit some of that out, but
Hmm.
I'm learning so much about the dynamics of how abuse framed and shaped my thinking, specifically toward myself, and how I interface with life. And it has been revealing. It has been deeply eye opening to dysfunctional choices and codependent behavior.
I'm
Because
hearing a lot of that you need to be a good girl to keep yourself safe. And it
yeah,
is it accurate to spread that beyond this woman into how you deal with life a lot?
yeah, it's very
How
accurate.
you have dealt with life in the past
Yes, in
before
the
you
past. Yes,
yeah, because I know I've heard you talk about this before, and I have too. I think maybe um, that's a chronic thing with women in our culture.
I believe so.
Yeah.
And I'm appreciating that you brought up this aspect of feeling safe because we everything we do is in service of a need. I developed codependent behaviors in order to feel safe when I didn't have any other skills. I didn't have the support of somebody saying, they're manipulating you. They're trying to control your behavior so that they're better in their moment. I didn't have anybody showing me that. I didn't know. I didn't know that I didn't know.
Were you a child at that time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was,
Well,
I was a teenager. I was a married adult woman.
yeah, but it started with little you.
Oh, yes, little Hopi, 6 years
Yeah.
old. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Even before then, when it came to the yelling. But
What were some of the words that came at you? Were they accusing,
it,
abusive, critical?
very, very critical. When you ask me that question, the first memory that comes up for me is I'm 6 years old and I can hear my sisters are 6 and 12 years older than me.
Mhm.
And I could hear the oldest sister behind closed doors with my father. And she had done something rebellious and he was furious and he was exacting corporal punishment. And I could hear her screaming. And and I can remember standing in the hallway going, I'm never going to do anything to make my dad that mad. I'm never going to do anything that I scream like that, like my sister is. And therein is the subconscious contract to behave in a certain way, no matter the cost to myself,
Mhm.
because there's safety in there. In a child's mind, there's safety in there. And I had an awareness or an epiphany um, last week, and I was thinking about that around that time frame as a 6-year old, and how young children inevitably see their parents as a in God form. Their parents are that proverbial God definition. And all of a sudden it occurred to me that no wonder most people in this life see God as a punitive energy, a punitive, uh, commanding, demonstrative, lording over energy that people try to. I learned as a Christian to behave. I'm a piece of shit. I need Jesus in order to access God, so you better be good. And although, I mean, I live, my consciousness has shifted since then, and I don't believe that any longer. But it was just really interesting to me how I stayed in this formation of thought, even as an adult, that those subconscious programs are still running. And I can prove it because I became in relationship with this lady and put up with that behavior.
Why did you stay?
I
That Bo and Donnie were trying to get you to leave, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I stayed because I felt I wanted to protect the horses. I wanted to help them to another place. It was so hard to leave them.
Mhm.
And I've since learned the significance of seeing myself with the same reverence, loving myself with the same sense of protection, and coming to a place where I could heal enough to trust that the spirit, God, universe, whatever anybody calls it, believing that the universe is going to support me and for my highest good, and that these horses also have a highest good beyond what I could offer and do for them. It wasn't, I want to believe that it wasn't this egoic thing that kept me in the place that I know better for these horses. It wasn't that. I think it was just my way of trying to make sense.
If I may say this, I don't see or don't feel ego in this at all. I feel a wounding that you see that you have that you see in these horses.
Yeah.
By saving them,
Yeah.
maybe you can help yourself. But what would happen if you saved these horses? Wouldn't there be another barn full that you needed to save?
It's endless.
Endless.
It's endless.
And to take a step from what has just been, it's like a curtain pulled back for you. Is that valid?
Yes.
To see yourself, to take a step from there to trusting the universe, that's a giant step. That's a leap off a cliff,
Yeah.
like Niagara Falls or into the Grand Canyon.
Yeah. Thank you.
And
Thank
tho-
you for saying that.
those things, they're not thought processes anymore. They become a part of our very bodies.
Yes. Yes.
And as much as you want to go over and up and do that, which is your goal, to trust the universe, I think that I would not be surprised if all three of us have that desire and that we sometimes are able to be in that space
Yeah.
of trusting the universe. Still, we have to um, look at and experience how that got into ourselves and how we can free ourselves from it. because trauma, it makes chemicals, and
Yeah,
those chemicals get in every cell. And
absolutely.
you have had brilliant insights on this, and I feel you so full of tears, so full of grief.
Yeah.
Um, but it's not something your head can get you out of. Does that make sense?
Yes, of course. Absolutely.
Does that sound critical in any way?
It's no, not at all, Penny. It's you and I have been friends for so long. It's I can feel the place of love from which you speak, and I receive it because it's this is a hard. It's not that it's hard to talk about. It's just there's a lot of shame,
Mhm.
and gosh, if I could count how many times I've gone to engage and the shame shuts me down. The messages behind shame about worth, my self-worth, and as painful as it is, I'm grateful to be knowing these things. I'm grateful to have been led here, that I can begin to believe and be free from the subconscious programming that has driven my life. Because I'll say this quote before, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again, from Carl Jung, and he said that until you make the subconscious conscious, you will live your life and call it fate. And I no more want to draw people into my life that are abusive. I mean, I drew that into my life, but it's been a powerful teacher too.
But why did you do that? Why? And that, I'm sorry, that may sound shaming. I
No,
don't
no,
mean
no.
that at all. What the repeated drawing them in, um,
It's
to
multifaceted, Penny.
well, and you don't have to answer me either, just to think about it.
No, it's a brilliant question for anybody that's listening, or anybody that would dare to listen. I would hope for um, some resonance in that. It why would I draw someone like that into my life? Because that's what I believe I deserve on some level.
Mhm.
And
From
She treated you any differently than your parents did?
say that again.
Has she treated you any differently than your parents did?
There was a hint of professionalism, but it went away pretty quickly. So it
But
was,
in her abusiveness, when she got to that,
yeah,
is that in some way repeating that?
yes, absolutely.
kind of a few things I've learned either from experience or research, you also kind of end up coming back because after the first the first time of any form of abuse, it it kind of forms a habit. You could literally call it a bad habit of returning to people who are like that. And like in some cases you won't even remember when it started. You just know
It's just part of you.
that all of a sudden you have that habit, and it's like you just have to figure out how to break it. And in a lot of cases you can't, like you can do what you can, but in a lot of ways you'll have to have help because I don't know, doing stuff like that alone, because you are when you're in abusive situations, you already feel like you're in a vacuum, and doing it alone like almost feels like you're going insane,
It's
you
yeah.
know, like but at least for like the few things I've experienced, when you like are in something that's not good, you you don't have a frame of reference for what is good. Like, cause we worked there 4 days a week. We didn't really work anywhere else. So even though we weren't there very long, especially you were there more than I was. Even though you weren't there very long, it kind of became the normal.
To work there.
Yeah, and to experience what happened when we worked there. And
Right. Right.
that's never something that should be normal, but we didn't have a reference there for a bit.
Yeah.
Kind of just lost in the dark of, well, this is what's happening. Like, okay, keep moving.
Yeah, that's just so and so's personality. We'll just when she
Just
leaves, it'll
ignore
be
her,
better.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, when she leaves, it'll be fine. She's going to be out of town soon. Kind of rationalization.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because I had worked really hard to get these horses to a better place, and they had oh my God, they were doing so great. um, anyway,
And then, of course, every time she was there, all the horses were all nervous around her. So to her, it looked like nothing had even changed at all. Even though everyone else who worked there was constantly saying that everyone was
they saw
behaving better.
yeah, they saw the difference in the horses' behaviors.
But as all three of us know horses very well, they respond to who's handling them. And when she's handling them, they are going to respond to her the same way every time. For them to change to her, she would have to change, and she does not.
Right.
And that's how horses are.
That was so frustrating. We went 3 different times to ride this one horse so that Donnie could get video, so the woman could create a reel to get the horse out on the internet and sold, kind of thing. And every single time,
Because she insisted on being
she
there.
she insisted on being there, because she's there.
Horse was crazy.
The horses, they're just completely different when she's there.
They're uptight and they don't listen, and they paw and get nervous and freak out and spook at everything. And when we ride them, they're
Yeah. When I'm there with them by myself,
Yeah.
I don't even cross tie them. They just stand there in the aisle and wait on me to saddle them.
yeah. And the difference is just her.
And when she's
They're
there,
so calm when everyone else, no matter who walks in the barn, they're fine except for her.
Uh, it's more than just her presence. It sounds like these horses have a very abusive history with her too. That
Yeah.
all comes up.
Because she owns it. She walks in like everyone is beneath her. And if that doesn't shut down a horse fast, I don't know what does.
and it sounds. I don't want to judge anybody. I'm really, really trying to.
Yeah, I feel really bad for
see-
saying this, but it is truth.
Yeah, I'm really trying to see the truth for what it is, and the reality of abuse in my life and how it formulated parts of my consciousness. It has been it has been hard to be a 55-year-old grown-ass woman, and I feel like a 12-year-old kid most of the time since this opened up.
Mm.
But thank goodness for my training in NVC and the ability to stay. It's giving me the ability to stay in my body, to somatically connect to these experiences, and yeah,
But it took a broken leg to get your attention.
it did. It did.
Have you had that leg x-rayed?
Not yet. But I just saw a friend of mine in Nashville that's a doctor, and she looked at it and she was just like, I hope it's broken, sweetie.
And you don't want it to heal crooked.
No. Yeah. And with the way I'm walking and how it affects the rest of my body, and
Mhm.
there's a lot of sadness.
Mhm.
And I'm not blaming this woman. She is who she is.
Yeah, of course not.
We don't even need any blame here, which is, I haven't studied the nonviolent communication, but my feeling would be, if you need to blame her, if you need to say what she is, Do it. Get it out.
Yeah. It's
Wait,
Mar-
would that send you right to hell or anything?
no, Marshall Rosenberg calls it jackling, and I love jackal energy because it gives us the space to get that shit out.
Yeah.
And it's so necessary, and I really haven't done that. I'm still trying to be that good little girl.
Well, you've done that and hope you've done it so well for 55 years. You did that great. Time for another role in this play here. And it's not easy. We're here for you. I know Bo and Donnie are there for you. I'm here
Absolutely.
for you.
I know that. Oh my God, I know that.
And there are many ways of helping and dealing with that.
And I'm trusting that by stepping away from this relationship, I'm trusting that the universe is going to open up other relationships for me. And because this is like $1,000 a month slam
Mhm.
my income. And I don't want it to be about the money. However, that held me in place a little bit too, if I'm
Mhm.
honest. So I'm trusting that because I'm choosing what is healthy for me, then I'm investing in myself and that there's going to be something wonderful to open up.
Yeah.
Oh, so I hold my breath saying that.
Yeah, yeah. It's just like, why
I
am I not breathing? Oh.
literally stopped breathing. I literally stopped breathing when I said that. It's so
You
interesting.
did. You did. Have you talked to your leg at all?
I know to do that.
I know you do that.
And I
I mean,
have.
I know you know. We have among us, my God, we could open a Costco of healing in things,
Is that if this,
approaches.
God forbid, this were my precious daughter, I would be in her, she would have already done all of it.
Hmm.
But yet, for myself, it's so interesting. Why is that?
Maybe you're not a good enough girl.
No.
I don't even know what questions to ask, but as a woman who has only reached the age of 55, and then as a woman who has devoted so much of her life to being um, a horsewoman on so many levels, so many brilliant healing levels for horses and for yourself, sister, you need that leg.
Yes, I do. I need it. I do.
So maybe one little thing could be just finding out what that leg has to tell you. Maybe some automatic writing, some I don't know. I'm fascinated by some of the comments that Donnie makes about what she reads about this online, and that how did you put it? There was no reference.
Yeah. When you're in something so deep like that, you don't have a reference point for why it shouldn't be so bad because the bad becomes normal.
Yeah. Right before I got this job with this lady, Donnie and I had the conversation of the phrase that when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been very true in my life with all the wonderful opportunities I've had to learn from people and systems of thought
Mm-hmm.
and but I say that to say that right about that time, this job with this woman came to me. And man, I was so proud of myself for manifesting that job.
Here comes the worst teacher ever.
Here comes one of the most powerful teachers of your life.
Sucks.
So it does suck. But the beauty of it is all that I'm learning about myself and all that is truly healing.
And whatever year that was, I met you. It was a while back.
Hmm.
It's
I
been
have watched you
years ago.
year after year after year with great courage, look into your own self, your own heart. Try to understand yourself better, change, grow. And God bless you. You're doing a great job.
Yeah, nobody's doing it like you are.
Thank you for seeing that and
It's
for
awesome.
saying that. I really appreciate it.
It's like, a 15, 18-year yes.
Yeah.
You were doing that when we met.
That's why I was in that energy class.
Exactly, me too. I mean, actively, you were doing it.
I love it.
Yeah, so this is just another thing. And this may be the deepest thing of all. And it's not necessarily going to be fun, but it's doable.
It is doable.
It is doable. You are a woman of great courage. I've seen that repeatedly.
It means a lot to me coming from you. Thank you. From both of you.
Thank you.
It's
I
been,
think between us, we know you fairly well.
Yeah,
yeah, it's
probably
I mean,
better
I'll
than
certainly
pretty much
take a back seat to Donnie, but
anybody.
she's on.
yeah. I appreciate the space to talk about it because I don't actively talk about it because of the shame of always feeling like there's always freaking something. And
Again, the frame of reference.
yeah,
If you're in your own head, sometimes it gets kind of crazy. You do need the frame of reference from talking it out with other people.
yeah, it's very important.
Yeah.
Very important to be able to say, you know what, I'm feeling some shame right now, but I need the space to talk about it. Do you have a minute? Being able to say that to someone that you trust.
Yeah.
I would be honored for someone to come to me and say that. God knows I know what it feels like. I
Yeah.
also know what it feels like to be free from that shame and to call the bullshit that it is. And it's just the honesty is, I'm appreciating the levels of honesty in myself and in the relationships that are important to me that this is creating the honesty.
Yeah.
It's a core value that I am cultivating for sure. So again, thank you for the opportunity. When you ask an MVC person how they're doing, well, you're gonna get a mouthful.
That's okay. That's good.
Not
I don't want to hear, oh, I'm great today. How are you?
no pat answers. I won't do it
No,
anymore.
no interest in that.
I don't have to tell my whole life story to every single person, but I'm not gonna be, oh, I'm fine. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm gonna be real about it.
Good.
I mean, brevity is key, but at the same time, it's I'm gonna be real.
Well, I'm excited to see what comes next now because I don't think you said it, but this all you did just message her today. Like earlier today was
I did it.
the
I ended it.
ending cut. It's gonna be good this
I'm
time.
gonna stay true, which is the orienteering term to keep going.
Yeah.
Okay, but what happens if you have a Tuesday morning when you can't stay true? Is that going to be a whole shitload of shame again?
No, it's a good question, but I don't think so. I think it's realizing my humanness and compassion.
For you?
Compassion. It is a portal of transformation, and compassion and grief, for me anyway, have been portals of transformation. And it's I'm learning self compassion, and the more I do that, the more alive I become. So thank you for asking that question, so I'm able to round off round it all off with the energy of compassion, to be able to throw my hand over my heart and to say, oh sweetie, I know this sucks, you can do it. I know you're angry, of course you're angry, and just feel my breath.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sometimes that's all it is.
that's a big piece. Now that you're grounded, Um, is she pretty grounded, Donnie, or is she hopping around irritating that leg a lot?
Both. Yeah.
Okay, both. Did you get those paints out?
No, we haven't done that yet.
Okay. I think I told you I resisted that stuff so much, and now even if all I paint are spirals, it just moves stuff inside, just moves stuff. And as Sandy will tell us, the energy of the spiral pulls stuff out, moves it away.
I've always doodled spirals.
Yeah.
I always have.
Well, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
You're a spiral kind of girl. And I mean that in a great positive way.
I know you do. I know you do. So, Donnie, how have you been? What has your world been like?
That's a good question.
Yeah. I
Uh,
second that question.
uh, I wish I remembered. I've been, I guess, as deep as you, but when I come out, it's kind of hard to remember. So, uh, learning more about myself recently, I guess. Uh,
In what ways?
I guess I've been learning that, like, I knew this, but I'm really learning it. So, I didn't know why until, like, recently, but a lot of things about myself were because of, uh, whatever amount of autism I possess, which I know I always talk about this, but it's I've really been learning about myself thanks to the research I've done. Uh, and I guess recently one of the things I've learned the most is I really need that frame of reference I keep talking about because in social situations I use other people to like give myself reactions to things. I know that's I've sort of talked about this, I think, but basically the way that I don't have like I can understand sarcasm, stuff like that. I feel like I'm fairly good at just having conversations with people. Uh, but I think I have explained this before. So to me, in my being, there's a space in between what happens and what emotion gets assigned to what happens. And I get to choose what emotion is linked to what happens. But when bad stuff happens, and it could be anything, sometimes it's very hard to know what emotion to link what happened to. Also because and again, frame of reference thing, I was able to talk to my cousin recently and she actually got professionally diagnosed and I'm next. I would really like to do
With
that to
diagnosed with.
autism.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And she
Taylor?
yes,
Yes.
Taylor. She and I were conversing just about that and how we experience things. Uh and that was awesome. That was super good. But I don't remember what hers were now, but she agreed that because of autism, we just don't experience some emotions that other people do. It is I've experienced real anger maybe 4 or 5 times in my life. I've never experienced jealousy, and I don't really think I've ever been embarrassed by anything, which is really crazy. Uh, so for I guess to answer what you asked, sort of, I've been learning about myself because I've realized that I also have a super high pain tolerance, physically and emotionally. So to bring this all together, I've realized recently that when a quote bad thing happens, I don't like it I almost don't know it's bad. I just say, okay, this is happening, and then I do what I can. But
Do you look to other people to see what a reaction is appropriate?
yes,
Okay.
absolutely, all the time, no matter what it is. But sometimes bad things happen and you're alone,
Oh,
and then I have no idea.
how does that? What's that like for you?
I feel fine because I feel fine because I haven't assigned an emotion to it, which is really interesting. Um, but I guess to really answer the question, I have been learning when to say, "Hey, I don't like this." And that's been really hard. I've never
Mm.
done that in my whole life, and not to be that person, but I guess a lot of bad stuff has happened,
Yeah.
and I was alone, and I didn't know that it was bad and that I could say anything. I saw other people saying things, but I didn't know I could do that too. I don't know why. No one ever told me, "No, you can't do anything about what's happening to you." I just never really did. I just kind of just slogged my way through whatever it was, but now I'm realizing I can say, "Hey, I don't like this. I need to do something about it." Either I can say that to myself, I can ask people for help, I can like actually get through it without waiting for it to end.
Oh,
Because waiting for something to end is going to leave you in something for just entirely too long, a lot longer than it needed to be if you just said something.
right.
Wow, that's so powerful.
But yeah, that's what I've been learning.
Does anger, you said you'd only been really angry a few times in your life.
Yeah, I wish I could. It looks like it gets stuff done, but I got to figure out how to get stuff done my way.
When you look to other people, do you trust them?
Yes, because I know that their reactions are genuine because they don't have most of not everybody, but a lot of people. They experience something and the emotion comes with it. So I know that they are being genuine, especially in bad situations where things are going wrong and they're either they freak out or are like whatever emotion they experience is like real. But I think another cool thing is I can decide what I assign it to. So that it does kind of make me good under pressure, which I'm really grateful for.
Mm.
Because my first reaction is nothing. So I can see something bad happening and be like, I guess I can skip the emotion phase and get directly to the logic of what do we do?
Yeah.
Like whenever I've seen people get hurt, whenever I've seen myself get hurt,
Like a
I don't start screaming and pass out. I say, all right, let's get me to kind of get myself back to the house and take care of this, kind of thing, which I'm really grateful for that. I'm glad that I am able to consciously figure out that. I guess I do call it assigning emotions. I don't know if that's like the perfect term, but that is the best term. I'm I guess I'm kind of grateful that I of how I came up with explaining this because a thing I've learned is you you can't fully if you don't experience it, you can't fully know, but I try my best to explain stuff like that. And I feel like I do all right cuz it's a weird concept. I've never heard anyone else really say it until I said it out loud and Taylor was like, "Yeah." My cousin who was diagnosed, she was like, "Yeah, I do that too." I don't know how to react to something. Uh but she said her difference is that if something bad does happen, she is not calm at first. Like she does have the automatic reaction to bad things, but good things, she's just kind of like, okay, what do we do now? Oh, we're excited. Okay, got it.
Hmm.
And that's how it feels. That's how everything feels to me. Something happens and I say, all right, that one, joy, let's go.
Huh.
Pretty crazy. Unless I've been thinking about it for a long time, then it'll kind of just happen. Like, I guess for example, our friends are coming to our friends from France are finally coming to visit because they weren't able to visit last year because of COVID. And I had been thinking about that for a long time. So when you told me yes, they are coming this day, I was just already excited
Hmm.
because I had already done the equation of the emotions for that one.
Okay.
If that makes any sense, I guess
Sure.
that's how it works. But to bring it all back around,
Well, it sounds like you're understanding when this piece and this piece comes together, that's excitement. Okay, register that. Got it.
yeah, yeah, I can bank the equations.
There
I
you
like
go.
calling them equations because that's what it kind of feels like. I'm adding stuff together. Uh,
So, but when it comes to, and I hate to qualify things as good and bad when it comes to emotions because they're all just necessary part things to help
mhm,
us understand.
definitely.
But for the sake of it, when you experience what you're calling something negative or bad, like sadness or anger or grief or terror or fear of something in its varying degrees,
Hmm.
um, are you understanding more of what that's like for you
Yeah, definitely.
in the same fashion, and that you can say, oh, that, okay, maybe that I'm just maybe that's fear of punishment. Okay, got it, bank it, kind of thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
It doesn't work all the time. Like, if you'll notice when I get stuck on something, that is because I don't know what is even going on. Like, I will
Like with
know
another
the
person's behavior.
yeah, or
Okay.
just whatever. Like, I know you've noticed me. Like, I'll just freeze up, and that is normally me not knowing how to feel about the situation because oftentimes if it is something that's on the more or like you said like negative side, uh there can be multiple emotions and then I really don't know, which is funny. Uh, but then I can know they sort themselves out eventually because I get now that I think about it, sometimes the process goes the opposite way where I receive the feeling and then I have to assign it to the scenario. As in
Can you give an example?
I think the biggest example is when I'm uncomfortable with something, physical, emotional, whatever a situation,
Okay.
and I will feel the discomfort and not know what the heck that is happening. Like I forget what being uncomfortable feels like, and then when I realize, I can perfectly logically hash it out. But sometimes I'll be like, "What's wrong here? Why do I feel like this?" And it'll take a long time if I ever realize it that something is not going right for me in that moment, like emotionally. And then I'll assign it to, oh, that happened, so that's why I'm feeling this. So like I said, sometimes it does go the opposite way of instead of assigning a feeling to a scenario, assigning a scenario to a feeling. That one's more rare. Like I said, I'll be feeling something and I won't know why.
Okay.
And then I have to be like, it was probably this, or I'll be like, yeah, it was definitely what happened here that made me feel this. It's like a puzzle. I never realized that until now. That's really interesting.
The, the intricacies of your brain and being are. It sounds like it's you're figuring out the formula
Yeah.
so that things and relationships and circumstances make sense quicker.
Yeah. Normally. I think the quicker part comes with me just knowing how to pilot myself better and better the more I do it,
Mm.
if that makes any sense. Another thing I just remembered. So we went to this is different, but it still answers the question. We went to a funeral,
Memorial service.
yes, and once we got out, you told me that what exactly like I just seemed more comfortable in myself and
Yes, we were. A
social situations.
Yeah, we were sitting talking. There was a few new people that we didn't know very well, and some people that she I knew well that she sort of knew, kind of thing. Anyway, I noticed that Donnie's behavior was more relaxed, and she was maintaining eye contact,
That's
and
hard.
and was talkative and fluid and responsive and at ease with herself. Like, she has this nervous tick of popping her knuckles
Oh yeah,
when she's talking to someone.
Uh-huh.
And you didn't do that. You didn't pop your knuckles once.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
But hearing that was really cool because it kind of made this whole thing fall in place. Because the night before, me and my friend and I
My,
were
my friend and I.
were
We've
we
been
were
doing the pronoun thing.
difficult. We were going through like from we were going through our he's an internet friend. We were going through our messages from like 3 and 4 years ago now. And he's like one of my oldest friends besides the people I've known since like they were babies and I was also very young kind of thing.
Right.
Uh and it was really, really interesting to see. And I didn't realize it until you said it that the next day and it all fell together. I so my friend when my friend and I were talking about I guess how we used to act. Like, of course, sometimes you're a little embarrassed of who you were when you were younger. Like, I wasn't. I was just like, yeah, I get it. But when I realized, my friend, he goes, what did he say? He was like, man, I was kind of dumb or whatever. He was like, man, I was a little bit annoying. And I was like, uh, and he was like, yeah, at least I have like a better sense of humor now. And I was like, yeah, the only difference I'm seeing here is that I learned how to mask my autism. And then I stopped and I was like, wait, I said that as a joke, but that was real. Like
Wow.
I learned how to conduct myself more at the cost of kind of pushing all of that back as far as I could. But now to tie all this together, when you said that I just seemed more open or whatever, I realized I went through the process over the past since I was about 14 until now. I went through the process of like realizing that I acted differently than everyone else because of my autism. I would come out of social situations and be like, "What the heck was that? What like why do you act like that?" Because I didn't know. Like what the heck was up with me at that time? I just thought I was weird.
Hmm.
That was how I labeled it. And so from there on, I was like, I want to act more normal. So I started masking my autism.
Oh.
And I didn't know that's what it was because I didn't know any of this language that I'm using now. I didn't even understand myself at all. And now, within the past year, I am unmasking. I know how to because of masking, I learned how to, converse relatively normally. And now I guess I'm letting the freak flag fly, which is awesome.
Yay.
In moderation.
Oh, screw moderation.
Yeah.
Yeah, screw moderation.
But yeah, it's a
Penny,
happy ending.
Penny, how do the things that we've said resonate with you?
Yeah, I
What
want to know.
comes
I
alive in you when you hear all of this?
I just feel so privileged to hear this conversation and get these insights. And I have questions as we go along, and sometimes you ask them. And I want to know more. I'm so grateful to you for not just doing all this research and looking into yourself and all the journey you're on, but for sharing it in such an articulate and powerful way. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for saying that. That's
Well,
awesome.
thank you. I've got little questions along the way. I had 100 questions, but God knows I'm not going to remember them all right now. But you talked about having put it's Sandrine and your kids, right? Coming.
Yeah,
Right.
they're coming. Yeah.
They're coming, and then you put the excitement with that. Now, if you sit and think about them coming, will that excitement return?
Yes, definitely. Because it's already linked, and that's a pretty obvious link that I don't have to make on the fly. I have already known. Yes, that's exciting. Or like, yeah,
Okay. Will that influence how you are with them when they actually arrive? Because
nah,
I think there were some rough spots last time they were here.
Yes.
yeah, and we never really figured out why. It just kind of ended
was-
up happening.
It was hard.
I mean, I kind of know why it was for me, but I'm not ready to talk about that yet. That wasn't their fault or mine. It was kind of my fault. Well, anyway, we'll get to that eventually, I guess,
I want
because
to
I
hear.
don't even know.
Well,
It was. I was
you're
letting.
not required to open your veins for us.
Yeah, I will say I was letting other people influence me way more than I should have. I didn't know. Like it wasn't my fault, but I let it happen. I should say. I didn't do anything to stop it, which
see.
is again, well, everything I was talking about before, I didn't know I could say anything because I just
Ah.
didn't know. I don't know why.
So is this accurate? You realized it was happening, but didn't have any reference that would tell you you could make it stop or you could leave or whatever?
Exactly. And
Okay.
nothing to do with the Frenchies or even me. It was someone else in my life uh at the time.
Oh, okay.
And I'm still learning, and
Yes.
that matters. I think I handled it pretty dang well overall.
Yes.
Uh,
Beautifully.
but yeah,
That would actually
it
be a
was.
beautiful topic for a podcast one day when you're ready to talk about
I
it.
need a lot of time for that one.
Yeah.
We're still in the processing phase.
You let us know when you're ready.
Yeah, I would like
Great.
to eventually because it's after everything that I've researched in regard to mental health everywhere. Always share your story because people will learn from your story. Like I did talk about this on the other one about Anthony Hopkins, and he used one word in how he described his experience with autism that like gave me an epiphany about like a whole side of myself. So please always share your story.
What was the word again? Remind me.
He used the word chameleon about
Chameleon,
his
right.
personality, and I was
Right.
like, oh my god, I used to say that too, blah blah whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, even if you think your story, I think I actually said this exact sentence in the other podcast. In regard to anything, autism, ADHD, depression, anxiety, whatever, always share your story. Even if you don't have any mental illness at all, tell us about that. Tell us about exactly how you think and feel because it helps. It helps other people. I to continue the topic of the whole thing apparently. Frame of reference. When we're all stuck in our heads, we don't know what the heck's going on if we're there too long. Like if we dive super deep, you don't even remember which way is up. But if you can see other people, you can say, "Oh, they came from that direction, so up must be this way." You know? And then you can come out and be like, "I understand a lot more about myself because of you. Thank you." You know?
So sharing what one has been through is necessary because someone else is there feeling a similar way,
Yes.
longing for support and understanding. Maybe not even knowing that they're longing for support and understanding. They just
Yeah.
know something hurts.
Exactly. And even if you think you're the most boring person on earth, someone's going to resonate with you and they're going to need to. So please
It's a lot of good stuff.
tell people.
A lot of decent and loving people
Yeah.
that are
So,
willing.
yeah, I'll share my story.
Yeah.
Eventually,
Mm.
we'll get there.
Yeah.
And look how much you've shared already and how important it's been.
Yeah, seriously, I'm really
You
grateful.
have expanded my awareness about gender fluidity and a little bit about autism beyond anything I ever knew, and done it in such a way that um, it's more than compassion. You've given me just a deeper understanding.
I'm
I,
really grateful to hear that.
I have another couple of questions, and if they don't feel good, just tell me.
Okay.
But you talked about, I guess that's kind of confusing given what you just said, but you
Yeah.
talked about masking your autism for a long time. How did you do that? And doesn't that take a lot of self awareness in that moment?
Yeah, definitely.
Huge.
Crazy. Um, I I still have to learn how to like explain it. Basically, all it is, masking by definition is the same thing my dad does when he controls slash reins in slash forces down his Tourette's tics. It's that, but a little different in that all of your autistic antics, you just kind of rein them back and go. I guess what I did was kind of pull myself back until I had the blankest slate I could, and then rebuilt by referencing other people in social situations. Because at that point, I was in high school. That's not a good thing to base yourself off of, which I totally didn't. All I learned how to do then was talk to other people. Uh, and I'm grateful that I found friends that would talk to me first because I was very bad at initiating conversation. And just from there, I learned how to, I guess, just be a rowdy kid for a little while. And then that became, I, I hate saying that became my personality, like I was faking it, because it's not. It was genuinely what I built within myself.
Coping method.
But it wasn't, though. It wasn't a
Okay.
coping method. It was, I resonated with being a rowdy kid because I already was.
Okay.
And so I guess I'm not explaining this very well, but this is kind of how it felt to me, I guess. I took everything I was, bundled it all up, looked at what I wanted, took those pieces out, like one by one, built a new way of socializing, and then slowly brought out everything else and placed them where they needed to go. It's not like I was hiding anything, and I definitely was not faking my personality, which is kind of what that sounds like. I
No.
was not doing that. I
You were keeping
was,
yourself safe.
yeah, because I always felt like an idiot when I came out of social situations because, like, I don't know, I just was, and that's not my fault. You don't get to choose who you're around when you're in school.
That's
You are
true.
forced in the classroom.
Well, we homeschooled, but even then,
Yeah,
with the tutorial that we were a part of, you were around kids you probably wouldn't have been around otherwise.
yeah,
So I see
exactly.
what you mean.
But I'm still
And
super.
gymnastics.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I
that
was.
was
Yeah.
that was too early. I was still just existing then, and they always looked at me like I was stupid, but I didn't care genuinely, which was good. I'm glad that I didn't care because I still don't. But uh, yeah, this is all really hard to explain because I never actually have explained it before, and using language to put to something that was all emotion doesn't work too well for me because it was it makes it all sound like I am like a fake personality. but
No,
I'm totally not
it
a fool.
really
This is
doesn't.
who I was. This is just how I learned how to be me. It
Right.
was through this weird process of self-control and reworking myself every second I got, because thanks to autism, I was able to open up and open myself up like a freaking little robot and say, okay, I'm going to tweak this and this on the fly
It's
while I was
powerful.
talking to people.
It's incredibly intelligent.
I
I
hope so.
agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So
And thinking back to the rowdy kid situation, um, I didn't feel anything made up there, that you found a part of who you are and you found a way to express that in the world.
Oh, thank you. That's a much better word. That's a much better way to describe it. Yeah, because that's exactly
I
what
couldn't have described it if you hadn't described what you did.
thank
Is
you.
that accurate?
It's
Does that
very
feel right
accurate.
to
'Cause,
you?
yeah, I feel like when I was describing it, it sounded like I was just making up what I was feeling. But no, I found the rowdy kid friend group and I said, this is pretty cool. This totally resonates with a big part of me. So I let that big part of me lead,
hmm.
and then masked sort of the more autistic sides of the way I talked and expressed things. And now I'm really letting those out, which is fun. I really enjoy that. But it's because I have a baseline of being able, I figured it out. This was all a good thing because I fully understand myself now, because I was the one who made me. That's crazy. I just realized that. Cool.
That you're figuring. If I can reflect that, so you're figuring, you have figured yourself out. You have clarity around who you are because you've been clear that you've been designing it all along.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But where are you getting the pieces you're using in the design? You're getting them from yourself, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I
It's
never,
already all within you.
yeah, I just
Yeah.
organized it.
And the people around you help to define what that part was.
Yeah, I was able, it's like, best way to put it, I was painting myself. I had all the primary colors and some others. I looked at some other art and said, I like that color, made the
Ah,
color,
yeah.
made it me.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, I was just blending colors all along. And that's not a saying, you can't say it's like a fake color because you just made it with real colors. It's still a color. No one's ever going to say, oh, you made pink. That's not real. That's just red and white. No, it's a color.
And the unique thing about this analogy is that she's colorblind.
Oh, yeah.
So these
Oh,
colors
I didn't know that.
yes. She inherited it from Bo.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
wow.
can't see reds very well, and I think I realized that's why I like blue better, because I can see the subtle differences. But in red, I'm like, okay, that's like a reddish color, I guess.
But I say that to say that the to not to belabor the metaphor, but the colors that you're designing and creating are completely unique to you.
Yeah,
Yeah. They're
I like.
yours. How
Your
do you
voice.
see horses
What'd you say?
color-wise?
What'd you say?
Say it
How do you
again.
see horses color-wise?
They they look the same. They're all their own little. They're their thing. I don't know. It's they're them. That's a whole nother like conversation of how I relate to horses, and that's probably why I've
No, I just was wondering how you saw their colors, the
like
colors of their
physically.
coats. Yeah.
I can see the difference between all of those. That's super easy. Uh, it's like it's more of the saturated colors that's hard for me to see, like physically.
Okay.
Like I don't have a lot of it. My dad definitely has it a lot. Not to use the word, but he has it worse. Like
He has an extreme case of it. Let's put it that
yes,
way.
but for me, it's just so I it is I can see the difference pretty well if the colors are side by side. But if you show me something pink, take it away and show me something orange, I'll be like, that's probably the same. Like they just, It's the
Interesting.
if I can compare them, I can get it usually pretty well. It's it's like the really saturated pink, yellow, not really yellow, pink, orange, red
Uh-huh.
area. They're like, and the first time I realized it, we were at like a tack sale thing, and I was like, "Oh, that pink halter is cute," and they're like, "That's red, dude." I'm like, "What? You sure?"
You're definitely, because I'm not colorblind. And there
Uh,
have been times when she was like,
Oh my god,
will you bring me my blue shorts? And I'm like,
these are green.
you don't
No,
have
they're blue.
you don't have blue shorts, dude. And they were just as seafoam green as you could be.
They were very blue.
So funny.
So yeah, that's another thing that I never realized that I was colorblind, obviously, until I was like that color, and you're like, no, that's a different color entirely. I'm like, are you sure? So yeah, that's the funny thing about that. But yeah, I can see the difference of everything like really really well. That's fine. I took a test on that actually, and I can see subtle differences. Probably if they're side by side, probably better than most people. Like there's a test where it's a shade of one color to another, and you organize them
Yeah, I did that.
to slide from one to the other, and I can, like, I did it like 2 or 3 times, and on the last time I did it I didn't get any wrong at all. Like side by side I can totally tell the difference. It's just by themselves I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
that's maybe red or orange.
oh, how interesting.
And then we'll all have arguments of, I've been doing it with my friends too recently because we're looking at the colors of something, and I was like, yeah, that green one. They're like, bro, that's like black. Like, no, it's green. Because
You could just see the green and the black.
yeah,
I understand.
yeah, that's
Mm.
all funny. Mostly the argument of what color is that?
Good questions, Penny.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I feel like I didn't actually answer it, but I don't
Yeah,
remember
you
what that.
did. You gave a lot of answers, and there's going to be more.
Yeah.
Um, Also, in the first part of the horse thing, you touched on relating to the horses,
Oh
and
yeah, that's
you
really
you
interesting.
want to think about that some because I can see given several minutes, quite a lot of audio time to that.
Yeah, definitely. I guess
Okay.
all I'll say is I am not the only person on the spectrum that relates to animals better than people. That is a common occurrence of people with any mental uh n-
Sensitivities.
neurodivergency, I should say,
Neurodivergency,
yeah.
great word.
Any neurodivergent,
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of them can say, "Yeah, I totally love my dog more than like any of my friends." Don't tell them though. Like that's really common. It's
Just
Dog knows, and don't tell my friends.
so much
exactly.
safer, so much safer to love an animal.
Yeah.
So much safer.
And a lot of people say that, well, this is obvious. A lot because a lot of autistic people are all of anyone who is autistic is more based in logic than emotion. That's just how it works. And animals are like the most straightforward and transparent that you can get. Whatever they are feeling and thinking, you can tell. But with people, because of how people are, you have to read between the lines,
Very
have to
dynamic.
guess, have
Yeah.
to figure that out. And that's very frustrating to a lot of autistic people because, God, just tell me what you're thinking. I won't get offended. Just tell me. It's okay.
Yeah. Be real about
Just
it.
please be straightforward,
Mm.
and it works better. I'm okay with that, but I know quite a few autistic people that would much rather you just say, I didn't like that you said that, instead of being passive aggressive or
Ugh.
something like that. Like obviously everyone would rather you tell them instead of you be passive aggressive, but for autistic people it's kind of magnified quite a bit.
Penny, do you resonate with anything that we've been talking about as far as seeing any qualities like that in your life?
I've resonated with a few things in myself that I started questioning. That most of this is new information because my knowledge about autism that we talked about early and when we were talking about the spectrum has pretty much come from pop culture.
Hmm.
And I'm seeing that it's very shallow and one dimensional. And
Yeah,
um, that is not really a useful thing. So in our culture or any.
I'm grateful that you said that and have noticed that because I've
Yeah.
definitely noticed that.
So I'm really excited to be able to participate and offer something of a platform to begin to expand on those things and
That's
bring
awesome.
real people into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. The thought of expanding on our humanness and the beauty within all that makes up who and what we are, and
Yeah.
why we are the way we
Why
are.
we are. And as just a recipient of whatever comes off the TV or I read or whatever, on all of this. And of course, the movies, which has helped a lot. There's been some sort of a shroud of handicap around the word, around the whole idea that needs to go away. It's not true.
Yeah.
It's about difference. It's not about handicap. Is
Exactly.
that valid,
Very
Donnie?
extremely.
Extremely.
That's awesome.
And
You're
I could have read that. I could have been told that, but getting to know you and your sharings and just listening to you guys talk about this is is dispelling that completely and showing me that is just a convenient label we put on it, and it allows us to treat identified people in a certain way that's limited, I'm sure.
Yeah. Deeply limited.
Yeah, almost in a racism kind of way.
mm,
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm not calling it racism, but
yeah.
when you think of when you think know what you're seeing, there's no point in it being there because you're not going to see it.
Mhm.
You're just going to see what you think. And I find this very exciting, and I'm really grateful to both of you for opening up and Donnie for putting in so much effort to define and articulate this.
Thank you.
Is it just exhausting to be you sometimes?
It's funny you would ask because I don't know. I don't
Oh,
have a reference. Like we've been saying this whole time, I'm not entirely sure. I'm gonna go with probably.
okay. Does
Maybe.
the Is it okay that I ask you these questions?
Very, yes. I love answering and I love being asked, and I'm really glad. This is awesome.
Mhm.
I feel like we should wrap up by asking what you have asked us. What have you been learning recently?
That I can still get up and do it every day,
Nice.
even if I don't do it well. I don't know. This has been a really, like for you guys, this has been a really bumpy time.
Yeah.
Um, but so much about my own value. And a lot of this is from the work with Sandy, which I'm going to wrap up at the end of next month and take a break for a while. But what a different person I am than I was a year ago, 2 years ago. So totally different. I'm a person now that I didn't ever imagine I could be. I didn't know I existed. And it's
I'm
been a long trip, 79 and a half years, but those are just numbers. It's what I'm finding inside. My intuition is improving, my ability to hear animals, my ability to feel okay about myself, regardless of what anybody else says about me. Those are just little examples. I'm definitely in a place of not only do I have no proper nouns today, I like you, Johnny, I'm still and you hope with your new discoveries about yourself. Um, I'm I'm reaching, I'm searching, I'm looking for a description.
Mm.
And it's okay that I don't have it yet.
Ah, that's beautiful.
Amazing.
Okay, that I don't have it yet.
It's beautiful to rest with contradictions and lack of definition, but to trust that that's a part of the process right now for you. And
Thank you. Thank you for seeing that and saying that. Yeah.
I feel led to ask you how the transition of our friend Amanda has impacted you.
Um, so interesting. After the first thing with Sandy, then there was another day after that. See, I don't even know what day it is. Um, there, Sandy mentioned something in what she told us about Amanda was doing more work with these golden pillars. I don't know if you noticed that comment.
I don't remember.
Well, the golden pillars are something that was given to us in the class we were doing that was just a 5 session class. And it was in a big meditation. And these golden pillars came in. And the purpose is for us to unplug anything, any human, anything that pulls negative energy out of us and plug it into the pillars. And that frees us. And um, Amanda came and kind of, I was going to say kind of kicked my butt. I think that's really Amanda like in a nice way
Mhm.
because she kept reminding me of, well, you didn't think of this person. Come on, let's do that. What about that attitude? Can you unplug it? She just, that, and she kept encouraging me to move forward with the project that is all about quantum possibilities that I have started. But Sandy has assigned us to do something every day of this 30-day month and actually begin manifesting these things. And I want to talk to you guys about this because
I,
it's us.
I
But
want
there's time for that. There's time for that. We talked about what we needed to today. So it was like Amanda was just very much a part of all that. And then I couldn't sleep for a couple of nights. And so I got exhausted and in my brain. So I can't really tell you too much about it yet. Um, I was surprised I could hear her so clearly and delighted. Still had that Amanda energy,
yeah.
the positive way she can be and that huge heart. Did that answer anything?
Yeah.
Very.
Okay. Well, both of you take care of your precious selves.
Definitely. Same to you.
You too, my friend.
So we'll see you soon.
There's no limit to how we can heal ourselves and our world. Consider the quantum possibilities. Thank you for listening.